At the moment, I'm looking at and digging into how religion and intersectionality cross over and combine. It's interesting to say the least. But before I make a bigger video, and before we get too far past Valentine's Day, there's a little highlight of my research I want to share with you. So I found these guys called Soul Force. They seem to be focused on Christian supremacy and a particular kind of violence.
The violence that comes from Christian fundamentalism and Christian supremacy is what we like to think about as spiritual violence.
Spiritual violence, which means there's a different kind of well-being to be worried about too.
We think that it's really important in Soul Force to also talk about how your spirit is doing.
And that is mixed into the soup of intersectionality to give us wonderful blog posts like this. 11 ways to resist Christian supremacy this Valentine's Day. If their activism doesn't work out, they have got a career waiting for them at BuzzFeed. Question: what does Valentine's Day have to do with Christian supremacy? Answer: plenty. So is it dangerous to celebrate St. Valentine's Day? Well, it can be. I can think of plenty of ways Valentine's Day is crappy, but dangerous? How? Underneath the capitalist conspiracy to get us to pour out $19 billion this year on the mountains of red heart-shaped boxes of chocolates, jewelry, cards, and flowers that will be flying back and forth between lovers and friends, family members, and co-workers, there is a long legacy of militarism, white supremacy, heteropatriarchy, elitism, ableism, and empire colluding with Christianity to co-opt our understanding of love and use it to subjugate our bodies and control our spirits. Wow. Turns out the real question is, how isn't Valentine's Day dangerous? We can't possibly tackle all of that in one go. So what's the biggest threat it presents to mankind and social justice? One of the most dangerous narratives perpetuated at Valentine's Day is the celebration and glorification of romantic love, that is, heterosexual, monogamous love. Alright, so why is that dangerous? They waffle a bit about Christian fundamentalists and misinterpreting Adam and Eve and yada yada, until we get to something even better than a harmful opinion. They have identified a death-dealing idea. The assimilating fantasy of heteropatriarchy tells us that we must wait faithfully for our one true love to come. Sorry. Then we must give all of ourselves to each other, and with God's promise and blessing conferred by the state and the church, we will live happily ever after as man and wife. It teaches us that love, not struggle, conquers all, and it indoctrinates us with the death-dealing idea that romantic love is the keystone of our happiness and fulfillment. And then, of course, without it, we must be less than whole, less than happy, less than enough. Look, just put the knife down. I'll get you some chocolate hearts, we can talk. Don't do anything you're gonna regret. Everything's fine, just do you. But that's not enough. You can't just say, okay, you see it like that, but look, just don't buy into it. It can never be that. It can't just be. Here are some things we've identified that we think are societal expectations or norms or whatever. Don't worry about following them. It has to be stuff like, we have to learn new legacies of love to follow, because the ones we have been given through Christian supremacy and empire are not contributing to our wholeness or our liberation. And then we get to the 11 ideas or rules to fight Christian supremacy on Valentine's. And it's like a pick and mix of feminism, Christianity, LGBTQI activism, and help column relationship advice. Let's just grab a few of the good ones. Switch it up. If you often play the princess, why not try on the sword for a little while? I'm not sure exactly what they're suggesting, but it's certainly conjured up multiple mental images. Look into the pre-Christian origins of our holidays and incorporate them into how you move through the world as a knowledgeable human, as opposed to a knowledgeable what? Another thing they suggest you do is make up your own version of a fairy tale that celebrates your liberation. Or, if you're really in the mood, you could learn about the ways romantic love is used by Christian supremacy to perpetuate systems of death, resist it, and tell everyone. Preferably, I presume, out in public wearing a tinfoil hat and holding up a cardboard sign. Don't use expressions or images that perpetuate heteropatriarchal ideals of fixed gender roles, possession, submission, etc. Like, be mine. If you're thinking about giving love hearts, why not make sure they carry a more progressive message? Some of what they say is good. Love yourself first. Yeah, good. And other things like learning about history. Yeah, of course, do that anyway. but taken as a whole, it carries that vibe of fighting implicit societal standards they see, with explicit limitation or rules about what's good. In which case, if these guys and people like them are right about what they're saying, they've just taken, I don't know, a right-handed trap and turned it into a mirror image left-handed trap. I mean, go ahead and do it. Enjoy your sterile life. But it's always suspicious to me when these organizations that offer education present people with big problems in such an airy-fairy way, with all these rules they need to learn and ways they need to work on themselves. And remember, we're just looking at a pre-Valentine's blog post here. This is just the tiniest little speck of what these people and others like them are up to. And I have to say, my suspicion about their intentions gets just that little bit worse when their 11th tip for Valentine's is, rather than prioritizing romantic love, center solidarity, which is love manifest in struggle with others. Give your time, gifts, and/or treasure. Smooth way of avoiding having to say cash to a person or organization that embodies the kind of love through justice that you want to see more in the world. Wink. Nudge. I love it. Finding stuff like this always makes my day. The only downside of my continued quest across the hellscape of intersectionality is that coming up with satire just gets harder and harder. But, as usual, that's just another one of my harmful opinions.